Time's a flat circle, everybody.
Sure is.
Matt, we have a funny image.
Do
We have
we?
a funny image in our next news story about warlocks. Takes us back
it
to
is.
a very good time during Warlords of Draenor. We'd rather you didn't play Demonology. That is when they basically murdered Demonology in Warlords of Draenor to then give the whole turning into a demon thing to Demon Hunters in Legion. This meant that a lot of people were not particularly thrilled.
Yes.
And then the Demonology revamp was honestly a bit of a shambles. It was pretty messy for a while until I think it was in BFA that they like cleaned it up. But anyhow,
It's very funny that this goes back to WoD, and you said time's a flat circle because that's what that achievement's from.
yeah.
Very good.
Oh.
Very good. Very good.
Some may even say that I've been rumored to play the game sometimes.
Really? Well, there you go.
So, the changes. Developers note, we're working to reduce the peaks and valleys of throughput by de-empowering the doggies. Yes. I think suffice to say, if you went onto the WoW Analyzer and your Call Dread Stalkers was low, then your damage would be small.
Yep.
This will allow us to compensate by increasing the throughput of Demonology's other rotational spells. We hope to have these in soon. Lastly, the demonic core economy has been too generous. We want to return Demonology to a place where Shadow Bolt is frequently cast, Demon Bolt damage feels impactful, and the number of instant casts available is a bit more limited. So you're a little bit more turrety. So how
That
is it
sucks.
that this is killing the spec? Let's take a look. So, Rip Through the Portal, Demonic Knowledge, Shadow's Bite, Demonic Meteor, and Fel might have been removed. Fel and Steel redesigned. Alright. It's a heavy-handed town. That's not particularly...
Felguard damage, Felguard damage, Felguard damage, Felguard damage, Shadow Bolt damage, Wild Imp damage, Hand of Gul'dan damage. Yeah. That's a lot of passive damage from
yeah.
your pets existing. But I'll tell you literally what the problem is.
Yeah, because
That's literally it.
just don't want to be stood there turning a bunch of Shadow Bolts.
It is just, would you like to do this part of your rotation more?
So that
And
the
everyone's-
non-bit
yeah.
feels better.
And everyone says,
Yes.
no, what are you smoking? And then the designer who is saying this is looking at all the stats. They're looking at where Blizzard want their range to be in terms of how much they're hard casting. They want to see how much movement they have. They want to see, okay, well, let's say as an example, if our melee has less uptime than our range, then this is purely hypothetical. If our melee has less uptime than our range because our range has isn't affected by mechanics, well, that's a problem, and that's going to be an impact on what we actually want to do. So that kind of sucks. But then everyone's saying, but my experience is now I move out of more swirlies and I don't get to press buttons. Instead of, I have to interrupt my Shadow Bolt cast, which does fucking no damage and gives me one shitty shard. And then I have to cancel that to move and then start it again from the start. That is shit.
Reminds me of how fun Mind Spike is.
Yeah, and that's exactly the thing where I'm sure Dakor has done their work, and there is a public statement in here because Shadow Priest, that was one of the issues that they brought up in feedback, and so many issues that were brought up to the Shadow Priest forums on feedback, specifically by all players. A lot of it was addressed. That one was super obvious and it wasn't addressed, which makes you think, well, why was that not addressed? Part of the design is you stand there ranged, you cast that spell. You hard cast that spell because you're not supposed to be instant cast all day long. And that's just... Yeah, cool. Sweet. There's also elements of people are saying about it removing the skill ceiling, which is obviously Demonology had a bit of a weird skill ceiling for like advanced play, which is one of the reasons they're substantially like better than the other ones. Then there's a couple other things of like, yeah, putting damage into pet, yeah, turning it into BM, yeah. There's a little bit of just that is really kind of crippling it in a way. And then you have to go, well, oh, is this the right choice? Is the wrong choice? You're technically correct to have the right. Everyone should, casters should have a range disadvantage, but to what extent? And the worst part of this is the simple prospect of you do not nerf someone. You do not nerf how someone feels to play. That is the biggest crime you can have in a live game. because you just went, hello, Demonology Warlocks. Would you like to have less fun?
Tune it down.
Tune it down? Yeah.
But don't make it just feel worse when someone logs in, because that'll make them less likely to continue logging in.
Yeah, that's
Hey! Oh, big things, all thoughts over here.
yeah. It is all down to that of you've made it feel worse to play. That's not what you should ever do.
Yeah.
Now, is there
Cries in Kaiten.
Yeah. Exactly, that's one of the things where they took away something that they identified a design problem, and that was a design problem. And they identified it, and they solved it. And then everyone went, you solved our design problem. We like that design problem very much, thank you. And you go, And then there's something a little bit of a one man's trash is another man's treasure when it comes to players like Scuff sometimes. Because designers and players look at specs differently. And that's just...
And that is one of the largest things that, you know, I always apply, even when I'm thinking to our own, you know, especially when I'm thinking to our own games.
Yeah.
Writers solve problems with words. Game designers identify and create problems for you to solve in a, quote, interesting way.
Yep.
Not every game is a Sid Meier's.
Yep.
You know, sometimes just like, yeah, all right, I see. Oh no, a game designer's applied game design bluntly, or oh yeah, great. Is this a writer solving problems with words? You know, it's like you go to an oncologist, they're going to see everything through oncology. You go to a, you know, whatever, insert specialist, you know, medical specialist here, they will see everything through the lens of their, you know, sub-specification, whatever. It's a bit like that with game design. And I think one of the things that game designers need to be absolutely, really, by default, not second-guessing themselves on, because you don't want to be, you know, you do need to have confidence in what you're doing, but they should always be aware that they often will have different priorities than the players who are playing the game that they're designing. And they need to understand that the players are there for the experience. The players are not there for their design. The experience is what is caused by your design, but you might actually lose sight of that as you focus on the design from a more technical perspective.
Yeah, nothing like a game designer to ruin a game's design. That's
Exactly.
always what happens. Always what happens in so much of the time. It's
Impressively,
honestly...
almost none of that came through the mic.
Yeah, apparently our filter didn't catch you from your shout because you were pointing the wrong way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good. Well, in that case, it just looked like some sort of bizarre void thing ate my voice.
Yeah. He shouted something incomprehensible anyway, it's fine.
Yes. Going through the choice tweets from Squishy, who you will know as being... Oh, no, that's not Squishy. That's Narissa.
Yeah, he just went Wowhead and auto-corrected.
Narissa does a lot of writing for Wowhead, and I now assume plays a Warlock. DHD, of course, Warlock for Liquid. And many other people, and you'd broadly see not fun. Max coming in just saying, look, replace this with whatever the hell it is for your spec, and you'll fucking hate it. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, hey, at least Smite is a pretty quick cast, but fuck me, I was like, all right, Mind Spike, I suppose I'll give that a shot. Instantly less fun. Mind Spike's not fun. Right? I heard something about Sid Meier. Okay, yeah, it was just like, you know, there's that Sid Meier quote of like, you know, oh, blah, 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 game design, you know, interesting problem to solve for your player. I was like, yeah, Sid Meier is making a big fucking interactive board game. He's making Civilization. You might not be making Civilization. Maybe that axiom, you know, maybe you're applying that out of context. I see that a lot. Anyway, it's just, this is the core thing. People not particularly pleased. Oh dear, a Warlock PvPer. I cannot imagine how bad this would feel for PvP.
Yep.
Give them Rune of Power next. Yeah.
Perfect.
Demonic Circle 2.
Perfect.
Very good. So, the community has been loud and very clear. Maybe there'll be change.
I hope so, because over on the other side, you see the mage changes, and I haven't looked at them in the last PTR update, outside of the fact that I started leveling a mage to 70, so I can actually test them out in PTR properly and give them a go. But from 60 to 70, I actually played a mage a decent bit in Legion, Frost Mage, because I was sleepy. And it was great. Arcane is incomprehensible nightmare fuel. I don't know how anyone plays that.
Yep.
It looked great.
Yeah, I'm like that too.
Arcane,
So I'm just like, fuck it, I'm too stupid. I couldn't be bothered anymore.
But Arcane Orb is fun. So ultimately, those changes are happening, and mages are like, I saw Flex was like, everyone thought the mage dev was hibernating for the past 6 months. No, they actually spent the whole 6 months cooking. Everyone's like, nice, that's what you want to say. Then you look at Warlocks, you go, fuck you. Someone said, I can't remember who it was, but someone, Belshar said, as a mage main, I drink in all the Warlock tears. And there is a part of me goes, good. Fuck you, Warlocks. You deserve it, taking down a peg. But that's unfair because it is players who are now upset with what they're doing. And that's the thing with, how can a dev like Mage identify the problem with Rune of Power and have these changes in? Do they not talk to each other? Is it all different teams? It's ostensibly one team. It's different people doing different stuff, and surely there's crosstalk. Obviously they have to, because they have to make the specs that work in the same game and tune them all the same, so they clearly have targets, they clearly have communication. I think it is just people being a little bit siloed and not really in thought. And kind of going, well, how much does a mage have to hardcast Frostbolt? Well, we should maybe bring Demonology so they have to, for every Fireball that's hardcast, for every Frostbolt that's hardcast, they should have to hardcast a Shadowbolt. Or for any Mind Spike, something like that. And that's all there. You go, yeah, that's a reasonably intelligent, I will make it all across the board. But it is the point that they're getting nerfed. And you're like, well, why did people like Demonology so much? Some of it because they pump. Surely it's literally number big, so we play because flavor of the month. But I have seen people say an awful lot of things about how, because I don't find this notably a problem, but destruction movement is apparently very, very bad, people find. I didn't find it any worse than anything else, because you've got your conflict and stuff on the move, and you can kind of pre-plan. You've got circle and teleport, but it is just, you played Demonology because then swirlies don't fuck you quite as hard. You're like, okay, sweet. And Affliction Warlock is obviously supposed substantially better at movement a lot of the time, because they have all their instant casts and stuff. And then you go, okay, well, but they're shit, so no one plays them. And you go, well, yeah, the ultimate problem is you've just wrecked it. You've just wrecked that. And they should just not... What's the term I'm looking for? There's definitely... it's the whole thing about, when every problem's a nail. No, when your only tool's a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Something along those lines. And that's a little bit what it is. And they just need to not make players angry. Nerf it, please. Nerf it horribly. Give all its power to Affliction Warlock, please, because Afflock is good. But just don't have PR like this. Don't delete people's class. And also rework hunters when you're at it. Sweet.
Yep. Please, entirely.
Yeah.
Got them.
And also, the Feral's a wee bit too weak. The minute you wouldn't give us a wee bit of juice. Cheers.
Yeah, make my old main brilliant and buff him.
Yeah, I just remember
Fantastic.
because I'm so tired of our unholy DK getting PI. It's fucking
And also fix Frost DK for off kilter there in chat.
Oh yeah,
also wants a
please.
buff. Anyone else want a buff? Just while we're at it.